and welcome back to another Sins of a Solar Empire 2 video. Today we are going to be looking at Vasari's 5 capital ships, starting off with number 1, and the first one that you get in the game. I'm not really ranking him, but if I had to rank him, this one would probably be third in my book. Third most useful or best capital ship that the Vasari have. This is the Jarasul Evacuator. This is the first capital ship you will start off with in Sins of a Solar Empire 2 as any of the Vasari factions, either Exodus or Alliance.
Speak.
And now we are going to go over its abilities. Its first one is Colonize. It allows you to colonize a planet, and it gives that planet a free mining level. It's fairly useful early on to get all the nearby planets of your system, and allows you to colonize pretty fast, and maybe even faster than some of the other factions. However, since you do have to colonize your homeworld, it is probably a bit slower in that aspect, but you also do start with a capital ship while all the other factions do not, and they have to build their first one. They do get it for free, just like you, and they get a choice, while you get the evacuator. I will commonly refer to this as the space egg. I give it that nickname because of the colonize ability, as well as it is fairly egg-shaped, if you can look at it in all of its eggy glory. Its second ability here is Gravity Warhead, if I can hover over that. It sends out a pulse of gravity. Let's see. Oh, I don't have the ability on this ship. But if I were to show you, it would send out a pulse of gravity, and this would slow down enemies' engines, as well as stop them from entering phase for a little while. This is really good if you're trying to stop the enemy retreat, or if you just want to harass their advances a little bit. Its third ability here is Subspace Rupture. It distorts space-time around a single target, and by a single target, you target an enemy, and then in a radius around the enemy, it will deal damage over time to all the enemies within its area. If you combine it with Gravity Warhead, the rate of damage is increased, so these two abilities together can be very powerful. As you can see there, with the Gravity Warhead, with its damage rate, it goes up by double the amount. So you can always use that ability there along with this one. And I would highly recommend them, especially if it is not necessary for you to have the Colonize ability. These two abilities are very good and powerful together. Its 6th level ability is Drain Planet. This is fairly useful when you are bombarding enemies' planets. It will give you metal and crystal over the time period there of 30 seconds, and it will give you 30 metal and 30 crystal per second, as well as bomb the planet for 30 damage per second. And that's just a good way to get resources while getting rid of an enemy position there. You can't unlock this ability until, I believe, level 6. So I'm going to refer to all those at level 6. If I'm wrong about that, I do apologize. I do not quite remember the level limit ability. I believe it is 6 though. And that even goes for Titans. Next up, we're going to go this way across them, starting off with the two more support ships. I would call the Evacuator support ship as well, but I believe it is the third best ship. This ship, the Carrier, I would call probably fourth in usefulness and everything that it does. This is the Skinratra Carrier. This carrier here, its first ability is Nanite Armor. This will provide a target ally with more armor, which does slowly decay over time, but it can help those who are nearly dead, or if you just want to bolster up the one that is being targeted by the enemy fleet more, you can do that. It does heal and restore their armor by 12% of the max armor points that they have. So it was fairly useful for just helping those ships get out alive for free. Its next ability here is Repair Cloud. Repair Cloud is a fairly useful ability. It generates a field of repaired nanites in a certain radius. Let's look at this radius here. As you can see there, that is the radius of Repair Cloud at level 1. And it repairs hull and armor for 12 of each per second. I shouldn't say of each, it's, I believe, hull or armor for 12 a second. But it is a very useful supporting ability in your fleet if you need extra repair there. You can have a couple of these, they're pretty good. I would highly recommend having at least one in your fleet just in case you need to repair your ships along the way. Its final one, and the one I have selected for this one in this game that I am playing, is Elite Bombers. And this just grants bonus damage and hull points and armor to the Skinratra's bombers, allowing them to deal extra damage as well as last a little bit longer in the fight. This is fairly useful. The Vasari only get bombers in Sins of a Solar Empire 2. They are only allowed bombers. They do not get fighters. So it is pretty important to have a bolster to your bombers. And it's a pretty useful ability. We'll see if it gets any buffs or anything else in the future. But it's a fairly useful ability. And it is pretty good in my opinion. Its 6th level ability is Replicate Forces. To me, this is probably the lowest on the rung of all of the 6th level abilities across the capital ships. It just copies a few of your units, allowing you to bolster up your fleet kind of temporarily, just in case you need that extra push. Definitely probably the weakest out of the 6th level abilities that the capital ships have. Moving on to probably one of the stronger ships in the Vasari, I would rank this ship at number 2 in my opinion for usefulness as well as combat capabilities. Again, these are just my rankings. You can feel free to disagree with them. They are just how I kind of like to play the Vasari. And eventually I'll probably release a game where I play the Vasari again. Probably try Alliance. I used to be a heavy Alliance player in Rebellion, but I think they kind of got weakened in 2, and that's why I play mostly Exodus in 2 so far. But I'll play Alliance again coming up in the future after I play through some of the other factions. Gotten a little sidetracked. Let's get back to the Antarak Marauder. This ship here is the 2nd support ship in a Vasari fleet. It is primarily more of a support ship than all the rest of these capital ships, and probably, I would say, the best support ship that you can have. Mostly for its 3rd ability, which we will get to. But first, let's look at the 1st ability, which allows it to phase into phase space for some time. This makes it invulnerable. It also makes it so that it can't attack and it can't use its abilities, but it takes no damage during the duration of its phase space. This will allow it to be a little bit tankier, as well as if you need it to leave or retreat, it can harass enemy positions in certain key areas if you need it to, and get out safely with that duration there. Its 2nd ability that we're going to look at is Sabotage. This is very good for sabotaging enemy structures within gravity wells. If you are attacking an enemy's planet, this is a very useful ability, slowing down their weapon reload time on their weapons, as well as stopping orbital structure build time, as well as ship build time from factories or enemy ships, because there are a few enemy ships and we'll eventually make videos on a couple. But there's a capital ship that the tech have that can build corvettes. There are a couple of other ships, I believe, that can also build ships in the game. Or if you're playing a Vasari player, all of your capital ships and Titan can get a special item here in the ship items that allow them to act as a fleet beacon, allowing them to bring in ships. But that is the second ability of this. I will probably get into what items I like using on certain one of these capital ships. For this guy, or we'll get into that later. Let's look at the third ability, and probably my favorite support ability out of all of the ships, and that is Distort Gravity. This increases all movement speed of friendly ships within the radius, and as you can see, this radius is fairly big, and most of the time your fleet is all going to be traveling together in one. It's not going to be as spread out as my 5 capital ships here, allowing them all to travel a little bit faster and get there. And if you combine that with phase resonance mobility here and increase how fast they are after phase jumping, you can travel or traverse your system or systems fairly fast in the game, allowing you to either retreat if needed, harass enemy positions if needed, and just get to where you need to as a fleet faster and in a more controlled. As well as the Vasari's ability to have phase gates and other, there are like certain Titans have a one where they can open up phase lanes. The Vasari's mobility is the best in the game, and probably my favorite reason to play Vasari throughout both Sins of a Solar Empire 1 and Sins of a Solar Empire 2. So that is why I would call this the second best fleet capital ship for your fleet, just because of the increased movement ability can just be a lifesaver in the end of the day. Its 6th level ability is probably the best 6th level ability out of any capital ship in the Vasari's fleet as well, which is why it would raise up the number 2 in my eyes, and that is phase restoration. You can target a friendly capital ship and you coat it in nanites, and if it takes lethal damage in that time, it's shunted into phase space, preventing it from being destroyed. And after a short delay, it returns with a large fraction of its hull shields and antimatter restored. And you can see the restoration there for all of those. You get 90% shields, 66% armor, 66% hull, and 66% antimatter restored there. This is a very powerful ability when used in those key positions that you on those key capital ships that are about to be destroyed. You have a couple of these guys that level 6 in your fleet, and you can have capital ships that last forever because of it. So yeah, I would highly recommend the Antarak Marauder. I think this is a capital ship that often gets overlooked in the Vasari's fleet, as considering it's a support ship, and a lot of people just like DPS. Because I have the best DPS numbers, and it's not the best at surviving, so you have to really keep your eyes on it in a fight. But it is probably one of the best capital ships in the game. I haven't played through all the other factions, so I can't tell you for sure, but it's definitely one of my favorites. Probably the 4th best capital ship coming up now is the Volcaros Desolator. This, in intents and purposes, is a siege capital ship. It is not my favorite, as you can tell. It is. Did I say 4th? I think I meant 5th. So we got 3rd, we got 4th, we got 2nd. This is 5th. This is the 5th best capital ship in the Vasari fleet. It being a siege capital ship is kind of why I will use it just to siege planets, because that is what it excels at. But I think like cruisers and other smaller ships can do just as good a job, if not better, than this capital ship, even with all of its abilities. So I do not put this one high up in your list of capital ships, just because it doesn't really bring too many unique abilities to the field during a fleet battle. We'll get into them in just a second. The first one it gets is phase missiles, which is a really good ability. Don't get me wrong, but if you're considering different fleets, the Vasari have access to a couple of ships that give them phase missiles. I wonder if I can find them here. Um, this ship here, the Canarak Assailant frigate, it gives it access to phase missiles at a cheaper cost than the capital ship, and if you swarm with the Canarak, it's pretty devastating. So I don't really put this. This is a pretty powerful ability on a capital ship, but I'd rather have some more oomph behind my capital ships when doing damage. And I could be wrong. I honestly probably am not utilizing these to the best of ability, so if I'm wrong, feel free to leave a comment and tell me that I'm wrong. I'm fine with that. Its second ability here just drops a siege platform, allowing you to bomb a target even faster. That's pretty much it. It just drops a siege platform and bombs planets. Its third ability is another bombing of planets, which is why it is probably the best ship at getting rid of planets. It does bonus damage, and its planet bombing reload is negative 24%. So yeah, it's also good at destroying structures. So if you really need to get rid of structures, this is the ship for you. Just because of all of its abilities that allow it to get rid of structures better than most of the other capital ships, if not all the other capital ships. Pretty good for taking out defensive star bases if you have this, and quickly forgotten which one it is. This one, I believe. Here.
I can wait no longer.
Sabotage, yes. These two ships combined can take out enemies' stationary targets pretty fast, or just star bases. Its 6th level ability is a disintegration beam. It's pretty powerful. I honestly don't get my ships up to this level too much, so I can't tell you too much about it. It is good at dealing percentile damage, which I assume is really good against star bases and other bigger structures or bigger targets in any fleet out there, Titans, since it does percentile rather than a flat damage rate. So it's probably really good at taking out those larger targets. So if you ever use this and you're like, I should use this more often instead of my support guy over here, I'm ready to hear that opinion. But to me, it just falls short and is 5th. And then my number one ship or capital ship and of Vasari's fleet is the Core Toll Devastator. This ship is the best at fighting other ships in the Vasari's capital ship fleet. And there are several reasons why, and I'm going to get into that as soon as I start reading through the abilities with you. But this is what it looks like. But the Core Toll Devastator's first ability is Power Surge. This allows it to reload its weapons faster, allowing it to do more DPS for a couple of seconds. And you see there, its DPS is quite high already, so upping that DPS is even better. And the second property of Power Surge is it restores 12 shields a second. So it will restore a lot of shields if used in the right time during the fight, and this will allow it to stay in that fight even longer. So it is a must-have first ability whenever you buy this ship. Is my recommended first ability for this ship. However, you can't really go wrong with the Devastator's choice of abilities here. That one's just going to keep you in the fight longer. But Jam Weapons will do a similar thing with keeping you in the fight longer and might even be better than Power Surge when facing a horde of enemy little ships. And that is just because it will slow down the DPS of anyone within this radius of you. So if you get this in a bunch of little ships and use it at the same time, it will slow down their DPS, allowing you to kill them while taking less damage, which is really good for a second level ability. This ship, the Devastator, is very antimatter heavy, or can be. So whenever we talk about ship items in the future, I would definitely suggest getting the one that replenishes your antimatter pretty fast. as well as some other attack ones that allow it to have even more powerful DPS than any of the rest of the capital ships. However, the jamming weapons is not the only thing that this ship has that makes it the best Vasari capital ship in the game so far. And that is its third ability is Disrupt Armor. It puts negative armor strength on a target for each attack, and it stacks up to 3 times. And this is just really, really good. As you can see there, at level 1, it only has a 6% chance to land that attack, but it is a pretty powerful ability. Probably the weakest out of its 3 normal abilities, which is why I would suggest Power Surge or Jam Weapons for your first ability. I'm more a Power Surge person, but you can always put Jam Weapons, and it's a good choice. This I would definitely pick up later on, Disrupt Armor, and normally I will have a couple of Devastators in my fleet, and I will do I have Power Surge on all of them, but I will split it between Jam Weapons and Disrupt Armor to allow my ships to help the fleet a little bit better. Depending on how many Devastators I have, you can see like which ones I choose later on whenever we do some more Vasari gameplay. However, its final ability is still one that makes it one of the best Vasari capital ships in the game, and if not the best. And in my opinion, it is the best. And that is Volatile Nanites, and this just does more damage. It does more damage, killing enemy fleets faster, allowing you to win. And that is all there is to it. This ship is a ship killer. It's very good at it. It looks pretty cool, just like all the rest of the Vasari ships. If I were ranking them by coolness, this one probably first, honestly. Probably looks the coolest out of all of them. Sadly, the egg is probably last. And then, so first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and coolness looking. But in terms of power, I would go Devastator, Marauder,
Wait no longer.
Evacuator,
What would you ask of me?
Carrier, and then
Quickly,
Desolator.
show me your
I
target.
can probably be convinced to get this Devastator, Desolator higher on my list. However, I just don't see its impact enough in my games in order to put it higher. Maybe whenever I start playing humans, other humans more, it will go up. But for now, it is going to stay at 5th. And whenever I play this game more, I'm sure my opinions on all these ships will change. Just right now,
Don't waste my
Devastator's the
time.
best, with the
You
Marauder
may
being the
speak.
second best. But that is just my opinion. Feel free to leave a comment if you have differing opinions. I'm willing to hear them out. If you want to talk more Sins of the Solar Empire, you can always join my Discord. Not a lot of people on there right now since the channel is just starting out, but I'm always welcome to a chat about Sins of the Solar Empire 2, and we can discuss it there, or you can discuss how bad my opinions are on the Vasari's capital ships. But I hope you enjoyed. This has been Say Wraith. Have a good rest of your day, and thanks for watching. Bye!